All right, good evening, everyone. Hello and welcome to Green White Checker TV. We're back here again tonight with the Area 51 Superspeedway Cup Series here at iRacing Superspeedway. I say at this moment it's going to be an unbranded, unnamed cola beverage Superspeedway. I'll say name will probably change in the near future, but for now it is iRacing Superspeedway, and that's where Area 51 is this evening. Gonna be 75 laps tonight at this 3-mile oval. Say people have definitely had various descriptions of this. Like one of them kind of Dover on steroids is definitely one way to put it here. Say speeds are gonna be in the draft out over 250 miles an hour. So these drivers definitely gonna have their hands full this evening. However, in the points up front, you see Gabe Butler with a now gaining that spot over Kevin Freeze. Now 3 points between the two of them. Those two have been definitely the two to watch this season so far. As you can see, Raymond Rittenauer holding back in third. Not out of the picture, but definitely not where he wants to be to try to have a chance at this title here as well. Say Eric Laurie, Matt Quick in 4th and 5th positions. And 6th through 10th, you've got Bud Steele, Corey Lane, Jack Walls, Dean Wilkinson, and Kevin Hash. So drivers are finishing up their laps as we speak. Again, fuel window is going to be roughly around the 20 lap or so window. I say it's really going to depend on if you're leading the pack or if you are kind of further back in the draft, maybe able to save a little bit of fuel. However, when you're going as fast as you are, it's going to be tough to save a lot of fuel at this track here. So, and pit stops are going to be a big one too. This is definitely one of the more difficult pit stops that I've been a part of. It's a big banking transition between the track then to the flat for the pit entry. And then you got to get slowed down from 230, 240 down to, I believe it's 65 miles an hour extremely quickly. So we'll have to keep an eye and see what these drivers are able to do here. As the qualifying's just about completed here. We've got a couple seconds remaining to go, and we will go over our starting grid for tonight's event. Alright, looks like qualifying has just completed. So while we get everybody gridded up here, let's go ahead and go through the results. On pole position, we have the number 87 of Raymond Rittenauer, able to get around that number 9 of Charles Johnson by just over a hundredth of a second. In third, you've got Travis Turnmeyer with 4 thousandths of a second between himself and that number 9 machine. Then you've got Kevin Fries a thousandth behind his teammate. Gabe Butler in 5th, Jude Conrad 6th, Corey Lane 7th, Eric Laurie in 8th. 9th through 16th, you've got Todd Merkel, Michael Spell, Quabi Brooks, Dean Wilkinson, Paul Witt, Jack Walls, Robbie Richards, and Eugene Vernon. And then I say this next group of drivers, all of which decided they didn't want to risk the qualifying. They want to start in the back and take their time and try to kind of play the strategy game here. It's going to be James Ledford, Benjamin Combs, Jim Brooks, Thomas Holder, Brian Pierce, Paul Fletcher, and Paul Patterson. So just got the field just about all the way gridded here. Again, it's going to be 75 laps is the scheduled distance. Of course, we do have the potential of up to 3 attempts of a green-white checkered finish. So basically the way that's going to work is if a caution comes out prior to the white flag, then there's the opportunity for them to extend the race to go an extra 3 attempts to get to the white flag and finish the race. However, in all 3 attempts of the race, including before it all takes effect, if you get to the white flag from there on, you are racing to the checkered. So let's say we'll have to see how that goes. We see the pace car just now heading out. Raymond Rittenauer, they're going to lead the field away, as you see. Let's say everybody's getting moving here. So it's actually kind of a tricky, even just to get on track here again. We talk about that banking difference. Got to be careful getting on the grid too quick, spinning those tires. So that's one of these things these drivers are going to have to be careful about here at iRacing Superspeedway. And of course, the other things we mentioned with that banking that this track does have, you have to be really careful. Also on the restarts and the starts, the cars are really going to want to kind of just move to the top of the track. Just with the way that banking is, it kind of just pushes the car up and makes it easy for it to try to spin its tires. So, even the starts and restarts are going to be something for these drivers to be aware of as well. Pace car's coming out of turn 4. You're going to see it make a sharp left down the pit road. It's going to put it into the hands of the front row of Raymond Rittenauer and Charles Johnson. So I'll say we'll wait for that green flag to fly, and that will kick off tonight's race here at iRacing Superspeedway. Green flag is out in your runway. You can see already some of those cars washing up to the top of the track. We'll be able to hang on to it. But say if we have any later restarts, tires, that's really going to be something that's going to be a concern for these drivers here. So now we're going to see what the strategy is going to be for some of these drivers. Again, we have some pretty good group of teammates here. So you can see right now the 3 of them on the inside line with the 87, the 51, and the 1. Up top, you've got the 9, the 25, the 8, and the 071. I say all of those teams, I believe, are part of that Team Bootnaka group. So would not be surprised to see them working together here again. I think we're going to see a lot of mixed strategy for some of these drivers here on how hard you're going to push and maybe when to make those moves. I think right now you're going to see a lot of drivers probably just try to ride. Now Raymond right now is still leading the way. Again, we mentioned he's kind of the outsider shot on the points battle here. Saying those two, he's battling right up top outside of him, the 1 and the 25. However, Raymond getting the pole position, of course, leading a lap as well. So he's going to get some bonus points for both of those right off the bat. So you can see again they wash up a little bit there in 1 and 2. See the one Eric Laurie really high up on the exit there, able to hang on to and say, obviously this is a track where you can definitely run 3-4 wide. However, early on in this race, I don't suspect we'll see too much crazy aggression. Say as the race unfolds and as we get to later stages of the race, though, I think you'll definitely see a lot of movement from some of these cars. As you see now, the 1 of Gabe Butler, he's going to move into the lead here and see if he's going to lead this coming to lap number 5 here. They're still trying to keep an eye on that gap between the first group and second group, and right now that first group is still definitely keeping the pace up. You can see now Benjamin Combs leading that group. He's got Eugene Byrne and Jim Brooks with him, but then they have actually a slight gap to the next car, or to the next group, which is being led by Paul Fletcher. So right now, so you got pretty much 3 distinct groups here, and you can see just how spread out they are. I think again that just might be some strategy call here early on. They just don't want to be in this big mess, or big, well, I shouldn't say big mess, but this big mix of cars here early on. You see Charles Johnson, he's making some big moves to the top side, definitely getting some ground in that number 9 machine. However, again, does not have the drafting help he needs. Oh, close there between the 12 and the 83 there, Jack Walls. And then Robbie Richards there coming through 1 and 2. However, they're able to get things back lined up, and you can see the momentum at that 9. Just lost through the top side, not having any help that he could do anything with there. So he's having to fall back in line here. So now we got these teammates working very well together here, all in that top 5 or so positions. As you see Eric Laurie giving Kevin Fries a big push through the front stretch. So I'm not sure if Eric was able to, or sorry, if Kevin was able to get a lap led that last time by. However, you can see though that's definitely that momentum is shifting towards that 25 and the 71 there. And it looks like I think both cars are going to clear that number 1 through the front backstretch, so they're going to drop to the inside. Todd Merkel's trying to see if he can squeeze in there. He is going to get down there and make it happen there. As you see, Raymond Rittner in the 87 bobbles a little bit in 3 and 4. This is the, like I mentioned about kind of the Dover comparison here. At this track, you pretty much are going to, you kind of just drop down into the corner and you bounce back up into it. So what we'll do is actually we'll hop in one of these cars a little further back. Let's go with the 1 of Gabe Butler here. We'll do it next time around as they come into turn 3 here. Especially say because of where that number 1 car is, being that couple cars back on the inside line. As I say that, he's going to jump to the outside. So I'll say we'll switch to Charles Johnson. But as I say that, Charles is going to jump to the top as well. So instead, we'll go to the 81 of Todd Merkel. They'll say we'll take a look here as we jump on board. And you just watch how the car just drops down into the track. As he enters turn number 3, and you'll watch as he comes out of turn number 4, car kind of pops right back up and out of it. So that's where some of that strategy is going to have to come into play. And just having to make the right move at the right time. And the other thing, of course, is you can see right here, that 81 car, he does not have a lot of visibility here. I mean, he's kind of going in blind into these turns. Just having to kind of rely on the 25 to kind of lead him as best as possible to get him kind of hopefully a little bit of a viewpoint of where he can actually hit that entry, because there's going to be a lot of occasions where that second, third car in line on the inside line, they might hit the apron and wash up the track, and that's where we've seen a lot of troubles here at iRacing Superspeedway in previous races. So I want to see if that comes into play as well or not. And also got to mention, we mentioned Travis Turnmeyer, Benjamin Combs and company over there. They have brought that gap back in. You can see the 77, he's in that draft. The 76 of Jim Brooks right on the edge of it. I think he's going to get himself back into this mix as well. Actually, he was the quickest car last time around with a 43.033. So he's definitely hustling that car to try to get back into the mix here as they go down the backstretch. And we are on lap number 10 of 75. 14 cars in this lead pack. As you see, a 12 car get a little bit wobbly there on the exit, had to get down to the apron a little bit. We got 14 cars in this lead pack. Eugene Vernon's kind of off on his own. 001. He's seen just at the back outskirts of the screen. And then we've got another group behind him with Thomas Holder, Brian Pierce, and Paul Fletcher. And much further back are some of those drivers. As we saw some of the trouble for Dude Conrad. He's in a group there with James Ledford, Paul Patterson, and then unfortunately, I'm not sure what happened to Michael Spell or the 11 of Quabi Brooks, but they're both, I think, working together here. However, basically about a full straightaway behind the leaders for Michael, I should say, and then Quabi's actually about a full straightaway. But 2 laps down as he's right now 1 down in that number 11. Up front, the number 9 now, Charles Johnson. He's going to take over the lead here. We've seen him definitely try to make some moves early. He's going to get it done there. He's going to go to protect the inside to say, but that's going to open the door. Paul Witt, he's going to jump to the top. So that's the thing with these cars at this track is just the momentum is so great here. There's only so much you can really do to defend your position. So obviously you think you want to be on the inside line, but it's also going to be about who you have with you at the right time. Get that right push from the right driver with, so as you can see, I mean, Paul Witt, he's got Eric Laurie, definitely a good choice there, I'll say, but at the same time too, I mean, Charles has Gabe Butler behind him, so you've got some really strong drivers in this mix right here for the lead here. So Dean Wilkinson joined the party as well in that number 55 car. So he's now up top there, trying to give a good push here to Eric Laurie, see if he can get Eric now up towards the front. Right now, these top 2 rows here staying side by side. Pretty much door to door here as they enter turn number 3. So the next things I mentioned is going to be pit stops, but actually I see the 76 of Jim Brooks he's on the pits. I'm saying it actually looks like already a lap down. May have possibly blown a motor in that car. It's definitely running slow in the pits. Not up to normal speed here, so I think that might be a blown motor for that 76 car. I'll have to keep an eye on him as I suspect to be able to see him get back out on track without any issues. Looks like also Dude Conrad in the 8, he's hitting the pits here as well. So yeah, we'll keep an eye and see what's going on with that. So I don't think it's an off-sequence strategy call. But yeah, the car looked like it was not damaged, but yeah, definitely something happened there with that number 76. And we did see the damage to the 8 a little earlier in the event there. Which actually brings up the next point is pit stop strategy. Sound like the fuel window is in roughly the 20, maybe 20, like based around 20 laps plus minus maybe a lap or 2. Depends on how aggressive you're being, who you're working with. And this is going to be this is going to be one of the more difficult pit stops to get onto here. It's a really aggressive transition between them. So we'll have to wait and see, because I was actually talking to some of the drivers, and there's discussion about wanting to actually pit in smaller groups instead of kind of, as you see, the 1 and the 9 almost make contact there in 3 and 4. Let's say there was talk about maybe trying to pit in smaller groups instead of the bigger groups, and actually here they go. So you see a lot of teammates there. The one of Gabe Butler, one of the first to hit the pits there. You see, Michael Spell actually has some pretty heavy nose damage to his car in that number 88. Probably definitely playing a role while he was a little bit towards the back here. But looks like those teammates, though, all hitting the pits nicely together. Gabe Butler, Kevin Fries, Eric Laurie, Travis Turnmeyer. So that's gonna be the first strategy call for these guys to make their pit stops. So now the question is going to be, when do the leaders here, when do they blink? Do they maybe try to run this one out, or do they need to think they need to react right away or not? So we'll have to keep an eye and see what the strategy call is going to be for some of these drivers here. Looks like they're going to stay out and go kind of with the longer strategy. And now we're going to see, can the leaders that pitted that last time around, can they make it a pit stop and get back on track without getting trapped a lap down? As you see the leaders going around the 11 of Quabi Brooks. That's going to put him 2 laps down, along, unfortunately, with the 76 with Jim Brooks as well. So not a good start for them. As you can see, there goes those leaders that pitted all together there with Gabe Butler, Kevin Fries, Travis Turnmeyer, Raymond Rittenauer, and Eric Laurie. But you can see they have been lapped here. So You cannot, it appears you cannot make a pit stop without going a lap down, at least not a normal fuel stop here, as they had pit stop wise was pretty quick stops. They're about 7 to 8 second range for most of those drivers there, so that's going to be something to keep in mind here as this run goes on, is that strategy risk versus reward here, because at the previous plate tracks like Daytona and Talladega, usually they're able to make those pit stops and stay on the tail end of the lead lap. Not the case here tonight at iRacing Superspeedway, so we'll have to see how that maybe changes some strategies for these drivers here as we're approaching lap number 19 next time around, which will bring us to 57 to go. Now again, the question is going to be, when does this lead pack, when do they pit, and do they pit together, or do they try to split things up a little bit amongst themselves? Looks like all leaders still staying out here. So the next question is going to be those teammates. Actually, here comes the second group of cars a little further back. Thomas Holder, Paul Fletcher, Brian Pierce, Eugene Vernon, they all hit the pits. So you can see them in the pits now. It looks like as well pretty clean entry for the group of the 4 of them. And that's pretty much what you need to do here with these cars, is have that clean entry, clean exit. That's going to be your best bet to have a solid race here. Looks like definitely, again, tail 2 strategies right now. With the 20 lap window with these cars, again, they'll need to make, I believe it's going to be, I want to say 3 pit stops if my math is correct. It probably is not. And so I think what we saw there was that first group led by Gabe Butler. I think they're going for the splitting it kind of evenly, if you will, here. Whereas this group's going to run this one long, and we'll see what they do afterwards. To see if they maybe make a similar strategy call on their part, maybe run this one long and maybe run a short pit later on in the event here. I suspect we'll start seeing some drivers hit the pits here. And yeah, oh, here they come. It's a big group. This is, again, that's where the concern was going to be, and you can see contact between a handful of them. Charles Johnson, I saw as well, was one of them for sure. The 81 of Todd Merkel as well. May have just been the 2 of them. So the other concern, of course, is if any of them got trapped a lap down from that. Also see Corey Lane. He is shown as our leader, but I think he may have missed the pits because you can see he's running pretty slow down on the apron here. We'll keep an eye and see if that speed picks up, but right now that car, I think he may have been involved in that pit road entry incident. And so I think that car is just right now, unfortunately, he's just going to have to try to limp this thing back to the pit. So definitely not what he was looking for there. And so I think once we'll have to see where everything cycles through here, but I believe it's going to fall into this group here that made that first set of pit stops with Raymond Rittenauer, Travis Turnmeyer, Eric Laurie, Gabe Butler, and Kevin Fries. As you guys can see, they're going to make pretty quick work of those cars that just made their pit stop, as they already are clearing them as they come through turns 1 and 2. Right now, the 2 cars in the back of that group, the 88 of Michael Spell, the 11 of Quabi Brooks, they are both 1 lap down here at the moment, with the advantage going to Michael Spell's being that first car 1 down as things run. So we'll have to see what their strategy is, if they're going to try to work together, maybe see if they can find a way to get to the front, or maybe just try to kind of ride here, if you will. So the 88 of Michael Spell, he's pretty much on the same pit strategy as the leaders are. He pitted on the same lap as them in that number 88 machine. However, the number 11 of Quabi Brooks, he pitted about 10 laps prior. He had the unscheduled pit stop, which definitely hurt his chances. Like I mentioned, say he is down 1 lap as well in that car. So further back here, we'll jump to our second group, which is being led right now by Todd Merkel. However, you can see he has pretty much only got 1 car to help him with that. Paul Witt behind him. Not too far back is Dean Wilkinson. I think Dean might have their toe. can probably make it a 3-car draft, which should help their cause just a little bit. And then a little further back, you've got Benjamin Combs and Robbie Richards. Same thing for them, just a 2-car group as well. And we keep going back and say it's kind of a similar situation here. It looks like about a 3-car group here. You've got the 00 Thomas Holder, Paul Fletcher, Charles Johnson. And we got to keep going back even further to Eugene Vernon. You can see, actually, I think the lead pack is not too far away from them here. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong car numbers. Apologies. Let's say you got Eugene Vernon here with Brian Pierce. Dude Conrad not too far behind them in the 8-car. And then let's say the cars that are definitely in trouble here, including Corey Lane, as we saw that have that pit issue a little earlier. And then a little bit behind him, you've got James Ledford there. And then you've got Paul Patterson, and then here comes those leaders putting those cars lap down as well. So right now the lead group here definitely setting a pretty torrid pace here early, as we've now got, it looks like 18th on back a lap, 18th to 23rd a lap down, soon to be 17th as well, as they work on catching that number 10 by himself of Corey Lane. So we'll have to see. I say right now, the leaders obviously content with working with one another here. But you kind of get the suspicion at some point the cars that are 1 lap down, there might be a little bit of jockeying potentially for position to try to see and make sure that they are the first car 1 down. Like I said, right now Michael Spell in that position over the 11 of Quappy Brooks, then James Ledford, Paul Patterson, Jim Brooks, as actually here comes into the pits that number 11 of Quappy Brooks right around lap number 20. So he ran as far as he could on fuel after his unscheduled stop. So that's going to take him out of the equation, which will now be basically between Corey Lane, Michael Spell, 48 James Ledford, and Paul Patterson. Right now, this group here is on lap number 11 of the run, soon to be lap number 12. As I mentioned, they went with the earlier short pit strategy. So the question will be for them is, when is the next pit stop schedule for them? Do they potentially look at running this one longer, or can they keep going a little further? I'll have to keep an eye and see on that one. Looking at lap times right now, this lead pack, Raymond Rittenauer in the 87, he ran a 44 flat that last time around. And the leader of that second group, Todd Merkel, in the 81 here, he ran a 44.098, so only a tenth of a second slower. However, the problem for him, though, is he's about 8 seconds off the lead here. So if he could get a little bit more help, that would definitely help their cause. But right now, the 87 car, you can see again, we've talked about how well this team works together, and they're proving again how well they do work as a team. With the drafting teamwork, and then also the coordinating their pit stop just so well together there. They did exactly what they needed to do there. They kind of stretch this race out a little bit and kind of put this fight between just them at the moment. Again, still going to keep an eye on lap times right now. So we're obviously, as you can see, we're kind of focusing on the lead pack here as things run. That last time by 43.665 for Raymond Rittenauer. So we'll jump back to that group led by Todd Merkel here. That last time by Todd ran a 43.726. So again, within a tenth of a second of the leaders. Obviously, they want to be a little quicker to try to close that gap, just not there at the moment. And then the third group, I should say, led by Thomas Holder in the 00. He ran a 43.716. So also, all these cars running very, very similar lap times here. So the gaps are holding pretty steady right now. So we'll have to kind of see if anything changes there. Maybe some drivers might try a differing strategy. But like I said, the one thing that the other groups do have going for them, I don't think it's going to be enough to close a 7-8 second gap. but they did run a lot longer on fuel than that first group, so there is a potential for maybe they do look. Oh, as I say that, 071 Eric Laurie looks like had a moment there off turn number 2, made contact with like Michael Spell. He had to go to the apron to avoid. It looks like they were able to keep things together there, but definitely a close call between those two. So right now our points leaders coming into tonight running their 3rd and 4th respectively, the 1 and the 25. Again, Raymond Rittenauer is kind of the outlier in this group. Not where he wants to be in the points, but right now definitely showing max points in the 87 car. Winning the pole position, also obviously getting a lap led by, however, I believe the 1 and the 25 have both led a lap as well, but definitely well on his way to trying to lead the most laps in this race as well. So okay, just trying to kind of chip away a little bit here at those two. Obviously, the big prize is going to be trying to get that win at the end as well, get a couple of bonus points there. So we'll see. Obviously, still a long ways to go here. 44 to go out of the scheduled 75 laps here. So not quite at halfway at this point in the race. Last time by the top Marcos group is a little quicker. They ran a 43.68 to the 7.9 for the leader, so about a tenth of a second. As you mentioned before, it's about an 8-second gap. It's definitely shrunk a little bit now. It's into the 7, like low 7, 7.3 or so. So they're definitely trying to work together here, trying to close that gap. So I think that group's also grown a little bit. So you can see the 4 cars now. You've got Todd Merkel there with Paul Witt, Dean Wilkinson, Quabi Brooks. So the 4 of them definitely making some pretty good ground right now. As this last time by, actually even better, I think, with that swap we saw for second place between the 1 and the 51. Raymond ran a 44.0 compared to a 43.6 for that 81 car. So again, another 4/10. As you can see, that gap now about 7 seconds. So I'd say definitely no give up in the second group here for sure, and pretty much the rest of the field obviously as well. Todd Merkel doing everything he can while he gets, again, great help from Paul Witt, Dean Wilkinson, Quabi Brooks to try to close that gap up. So again, similar situation with this group here. Obviously, Thomas Holder still leading that way, and so you see a little movement around here, and you'll kind of see that pretty common in some of these plate races where what they'll do is the second car will push as hard as he can to the leader, and then he's going to get hot, and so they'll jump out of line. They'll kind of keep switching who the pusher is. And so that might be what we're seeing in this group as well. Maybe Charles was pushing at 0, and he decided, okay, I'm getting hot, I got to jump out and then let someone else take over. So we'll have to keep an eye. But here we're going to see pit stops probably very shortly, possibly even this lap or next for Raymond Rittenauer. So we'll watch and see as they come off the turn, and they're going to go one more. So I would suspect we're going to see this lead pack here. They are going to more than likely pit this next time around. And again, they're going to have to be careful. Make sure they're going to also have to make sure they call this pit out as well, as they're going to have some people with them that may not be on the same pit strategy. Like I said, I think Michael Spell is still on the same strategy as them. However, I do not believe the 10 of Corey Lane. I think he's on an alternate strategy, as well as the 40 of James Ledford. And then that last car in the group, I believe that is the 26 of Paul Patterson in that Pennzoil machine. They are on slightly different strategies on their cars, so they can go a little further on fuel should they need to. So take a look as they come out of 4, and here they come into the pits. Oh, you see a little bit of movement, and that was the concern. I think somehow, they're going to get away with that. That was very close with Eric Laurie and a couple of those cars around him. Again, again, like I mentioned, you're going from about 240 to 65 miles an hour. Actually, looks like maybe 60 miles an hour. I'm not 100% sure. In a very, very short amount of time. So, with that though, we're gonna have obviously a lead change. It looks like it's going to switch over now to Paul Witt, who's going to take over as the race leader. As you can see, that 81 of Todd Merkel, he's fallen to the 3rd car in line here. Again, I think, this is just kind of the strategy of kind of shuffling the drivers around. Maybe just trying to make sure, hey, maybe you might be a faster leader than we are. so on and so forth. So we'll keep an eye and see how they are going to sort things out here. But right now, looks like strategy is going to hold pretty steady for them. I think we're going to see them run this out on fuel as well. Here come a few more cars. Thomas Holder, Paul Fletcher, and Benjamin Combs. They all hit the pits here. They were part of that third group. So now we got to keep an eye on that lead pack as they come out. Here comes the leaders. So it looks like they are gonna get them trapped back one lap down. As Raymond Rittenauer once again going to lead this field out of the pits though. So again, right now advantage to that 87 in this inner team battle, if you will, between the 25 and the 1. So usually they seem to kind of just work together. Okay, who's got the lead of the group, and then they kind of go from there. As the 55 of Dean Wilkinson, he hits the pits from, I believe, the second position. So right now that field is starting to thin out just a little bit up front. But right now Paul Wilt's still leading the way in that Toyota Camry. Now he's only got one helper behind him though, of that number 11 of Quabi Brooks, who again, he's off sequence. But I say again, his best chance right now is just to work as hard as he can with these cars in front of him here, to try to see maybe he can get himself in some sort of position to benefit himself as this run goes on. Say that. Here comes Paul Witt now. He's going to hit the pits again. See how quick you got to come to a stop there. Looks like he gets it down to 60 just in time. So I believe that's going to now cycle the lead over to, I want to say actually the 87. Yep, it's going to cycle to the 87 now of Raymond Rittenauer. However, I thought I noticed there. Let me jump back a little bit here. There's the 81 Todd Merkel. Looks like a little bit of left front damage there. I think that was from that pit road contact on the entry. I think that's just enough to hurt his cause here, because he was right on the edge of holding onto the draft of that lead pack. But unfortunately, you can see they're starting to sneak away from him now. And right now you can see that pack is kind of split up just a little bit here. You've got the 87-25 kind of snuck away just for the moment. But actually, I'm waiting for everything to update. I don't think, yeah, my ticker is not accurate here. So let me get this sorted here first. Or are we still... Oh, I see what's happening. I'm sorry. So actually, Todd Merkel in the 81, he has yet to pit. That's what's going on here. I apologize. The 81 car, he's trying to stretch this thing as far as he can go on fuel. And then the other cars that have yet to make a pit stop in this run are the 12 of Robbie Richards, the 9 of Charles Johnson. And we got a few others, including Corey Lane in the 10 machine, as well as James Ledford in the 48. And let's see, I think that may be everybody that has yet to make a pit stop here. And as I say that, here comes Todd Merkel. He's going to hit the pits. I would suspect this might... I'm curious to see if he uses a faster barrier here or not. I could see it going either way with a little bit of damage he has, because it's really going to depend on if he has any draft or not at this point in the race. So he's going to hit his pits. Also, the 26 of Paul Patterson is going to pit right behind him as well. There he goes. And I also see the 48 James Ledford. James is going to hit the pits that we see. He definitely got loose down trying to get that car woed down as well. So I was going to cycle the lead now over to Robbie Richards. And as soon as I say that, he's going to hit the pits along with Charles Johnson. So those are going to be, I believe, the last, pretty much the last of our holdouts there to make their final, or not their final pit stops, but make this final pit stop of this round, I should say. Which then will cycle just temporarily this lead over to Corey Lane, as he is not too far away from having to make his final, or his pit stop as well in this cycle, which will then cycle it over to the 87 to Raymond Rittenauer. What I was meaning to say was, yeah, right here you see Raymond Rittenauer right there about to catch that number 10 car. So Corey will get, I believe, actually I don't think Corey's going to get to the lap led there, because you can see the leaders are still on the pit road. So actually right now Corey is going to not get a lap led this time around. He's in the lead now, but I believe he may have to make a pit stop before he gets that opportunity to lead a lap in that 10 machine. As now we see again, this will become the lead pack again here very shortly. Again, just these teammates all able to stay hooked together here with Raymond Rittenauer, Gabe Butler, Travis Turnmeyer, Kevin Fries, and Eric Laurie. And every so often they'll kind of grab a couple of drivers to kind of tagged onto the back of them. Right now you've got the 11 Bobby Brooks. We're going to see, I believe, also a few more cars join them. We see the 8 of Dude Conrad and the 57 of Brian Pierce. I believe they're going to join this party as well. So it's going to be about a 8-car group, it looks like, if they all stay hooked up together like they are here. So the 10 is in the pits getting his service done. So I'll say right now we are on lap 43 with 33 to go. We're across the halfway point of this race. I'll say, however, what hasn't changed though is this lead pack here. Still completely controlling everything right now. I'll say Dean Wilkinson is the next car in line in 6th position. He's got Paul Witt with him as well, but you can see they're about 9 seconds off this pack here. So they got a couple of cars not on the lead lap, but still able to work with them a little bit. Michael Spell being one. You can see James Ledford also working and catching this group as well. And I believe just a little further back, yeah, I thought I saw 2 more. Looks like Eugene Vernon and Paul Patterson. They are also in this mix, so if they can all get up there, that might improve the lap times a little bit here. But I think right now, as things run without a caution, I feel pretty confident, unfortunately, for the rest of the field, I should say. I say, obviously, though, these teammates up front, though, they're loving what they have right now because they've made their strategy calls, and so far they've executed everything perfectly. I believe they're going to have one more pit stop here to make it to the end. It looks like it will be a little on the tight side as they are on lap number 10 of this run with 31 to go. So they will have to stretch this run and the next run pretty much to the tank is dry. So that's going to be, I think, the main source of concern for this lead pack, especially, in my opinion, the 87 of Raymond Rittenauer, as he's been the one leading the charge here, using the most fuel of this whole pack together. So let's say, well, now that we have the pit stop cycled through for a little bit, we'll jump around the field a little bit. So right now, the race leader is that number 87, Raymond Rittenauer, our pole sitter as well. I believe also definitely going to be the leader of the most laps. Behind him is that number 51 of Travis Turdmeyer, trying to get a good shot of Travis in that Amsoil machine. And then in 3rd position is our points leader entering tonight, number 1 of Gabe Butler. Right behind him is his championship rival, 25 of Kevin Freeze. And then you've got the 071 of Eric Laurie. And right now, that's the top 5. Let's say all teammates in that same group. Again, you have a couple cars in that pack here that are a lap down or more. But those are the top 5 in this lead pack. Again, all part of that same team as well, so hats off to them. We'll jump a fair bit further back to that number 55 of Dean Wilkinson. He is in the 6th position there, in that number area 51 Ford Mustang. Behind him, you've got the number 429 of Paul Witt. We saw Paul up there a little earlier on, just again, cycle through, has not gone to their favor, however. Then we have to make another big jump back to the 8th position, which is that number 00 of Thomas Holder. So he is working with Paul Fletcher there in the 9th position, so those two kind of off on their own here as well. Same there, yeah, so they both started in 20th and 22nd respectively. And then right now, rounding out the top 10 is the number 9 of Charles Johnson. As you can see, he's got help from the 11th position of that number 12 of Robbie Richards. And behind them right now, the last car on the lead lap is that 77 of Benjamin Combs. He's working right now with the 83 and 76 of Jim Brooks and Jack Walls. Unfortunately, for both of them, I'll say those drivers both a lap down as well. And so was about to switch to the first car lap down, which was the number 8 of Dude Conrad, but as I say that, he has to make a pit stop. So it's actually now going to switch over to the 57 of Brian Pierce, as you mentioned, was in this lead pack. So right now that first car 1 lap down is that number 57 of Brian Pierce. And so the second car lap down in that pack as well, the 81 of Todd Merkel. So I'll say this is right now the battle for the lucky dog spot between the two of them as things run. And then next car lap down is the 48 of James Ledford. James is in that Lowe's Chevrolet there, in the third car in line. And then right behind him, Michael Spell is in 16th. And then after that is Eugene Verdon in that 01. Paul Patterson right behind him in the 26th. And then Corey Lane in the 10 car. Those are all the drivers that are currently one lap down in this pack. And the other drivers still currently one lap down in the race are the 76 of Jim Brooks and the 83 of Jack Walls. Well, after that pit stop, I believe that's going to move the 8 of Duke Conrad to 2 laps down as he exits the pits here. And I believe that updates us on where all the drivers are here in the field. Up front though, say just pretty much the same strategy here going on in front. These guys are just working together, running great lap times. It was a 43.57 that last time around for Raymond Rittenauer. So the second group was in the 44.0, so they're about, or I'm sorry, 43.53. So just a couple hundredths quicker actually. Like I said though, that gap is about 9 seconds. So definitely doing what they need to do here up front still to stretch this lead out. And the third group in line is about 20 seconds off the lead. So, like I said, it's like right now, if you're this top 5 right here, you want this race to go green, start to finish. If you're anybody else in this race, you're probably hoping for a yellow to give yourself another opportunity to have a chance to try to see if you can do something with this team up front. Jump on the back of that number 87 of Raymond Rittenauer. And you see near full of that one of Gabe Butler. I'll say with most drivers, that's not something you'd want to see, but when you've got a teammate like that behind you, you're feeling pretty good. So I know things definitely going into the favor of Raymond Rittenauer. So I think kind of game plan number 1 for these leaders here is going to be just to get this last pit stop here, cycle through nice and clean. And then from there, once you get to probably, I would guess probably around the maybe 3 to go, 1, 2 or so, somewhere around that range, that'll be when you see these guys actually start to make some moves and try to see who among them will be able to pull off the win this season. However, that's all based on this thing going caution free to the end, which I would not be surprised with how well these drivers here at Area 51 are. So we've had a lot of caution free races in multiple series that they run here. But let's say at a track like this, it's definitely a bit of an unknown compared to what they've been used to with Daytona and Talladega normally. And so for that lucky dog battle, actually Brian Pierce in a great spot now, as he is the only car lap down in this lead pack. I say they were able to drop the 81 of Todd Merkel, so Todd's unfortunately off on his own here. So right now, Brian Pierce pretty much uncontested in that first car 1 lap down. Alright, here comes the pit stops, and you can see a little bit of troubles on a couple of them. Looks like Eric Laurie did not have the entry he was looking for. It looks like maybe a little bit of damage to that 071 car. So he may, I'd say this would be the opportunity, I think, if I'm Eric Laurie. I take the fast repair here, get that car fixed up here. So right now, say with that pit stop, this is going to cycle things again a little bit through. So we'll see the 80, see the 071, see what his strategy is going to be here. So let's see if we can get a good look at the car. Can't quite tell. We'll keep an eye. Oh, actually, see. Oh, this is actually could be something that the Kevin Freeze was not looking for. That car's got some damage to the back of it. So even if it wasn't of his own doing, that may have given him some incident points. And if that's the case, that will hurt his chances. And the other thing is, you see the one of Gabe Butler. He did not get a good pit stop here. He is actually kind of separated from his teammates. So we'll have to see if that's going to work out for him or not. Also, Eric Laurie, he has definitely fallen off his group together. So say hasn't worked out as well as they would have hoped. However, it looks like these top three are going to stay hooked on together here. So you're going to looks like you're going to have Raymond Rittenauer with the 51 of Travis Turnmeyer, as well as the 25 of Kevin Freeze. But as I say that, I'm not so sure. I wouldn't count out that number one of Gabe Butler still catching up to the draft here. As here comes those leaders on the outside of Dean Wilkinson and Paul Witt. Looked like they were maybe going to try to put these cars a lap down, but I think what's happening here is, yep, here comes their set of pit stops. They're going to make their final stop of the night. Now they just got to make sure they get their cars down to 60 miles an hour in time. Looks like they both do. And so basically it's going to cycle everything back to the 87 car. However, they have to wait till they actually get all the way back up to speed. So say it's going to be a while till they get there. So right now we've got things split up just a little bit here. Again, you see the 87 51, yeah, 87 and the 51, they're locked on together. And then you see a little further back, the 25 and the 1, they've actually hooked onto each other as well here. So let's say it looks like they will all stay together. And then a little further back, also in this mix, however, not on the same pit strategy. They still need to make pit stops. And that's just how good of a run these guys have gotten. So right now you've got Todd Merkel, James Ledford, all in this mix right here as well. But they still have yet to make their final pit stop of the race. And so you're going to see here's the 55, and there go the leaders right there. So that's going to move Dean Wilkinson back in the field here as he completes his final stop of the race. Unfortunately, Paul Witt did not have the pit stop he was looking for. You can see the distance between them as they exit. And saying up front, you can see the leaders all back together here. Unfortunately, minus one of their guys, that number 071 of Eric Laurie, did not have the pit stop he was looking for. But say is still on track there. So let's see if he's got some help at least for the 88 of Michael Spell. So say he's gonna still be in a good spot position-wise here. I think we'll have to see where he cycles through altogether. Right now, I believe he will cycle out behind that number 55 of Dean Wilkinson. So that would be the next track position for that 071. So now the question is going to be who's going to make which moves when. Like I said, there's still plenty of time to go here. We're going to be at 16 to go at the line, so we'll keep an eye to see if there's any moves here. But I don't suspect we're going to see a lot of aggressive racing from these drivers up until we get to that point of, I would say, about 3 to go. So I think that's going to be about the time that you see the green light for these drivers to make their moves. And honestly, I mean, they might wait till a white flag and say, okay, now let's settle this between us. That way we know for sure that there won't be a late race restart. Drivers make their final stops. Todd Merkel, he hits the pits in that number 81 machine. That's going to leave Corey Lehman, James Ledford. They still need to make their final stops of the race. I believe they'll be the last of the main lead pack to do so. And from then on, I believe pretty much the whole field will be able to make it to the end of the race. So I'll have to keep an eye and see where Todd's able to cycle through, because his goal is going to be, if he can, is at least get back on track in a draft pack. to keep that speed up in that number 81 car. As I say that, here comes James Ledford. He's going to hit the pits. Looks like the 10 up Corey Lane. He's going to try to stretch it just a little bit further. You can see he's right behind this group here. In the number 10 machine, he's got a lot of help from the number 8 of Duke Conrad. I think right now they're just pushing hard to try to see if they can close that gap to that lead pack in front of them. And you'll see right behind him is that 77 of Benjamin Combs as well. But like I said, though, this lead pack definitely has been running strong all night long. As they see, is they actually put the 76 of Jim Brooks 2 laps down now. And he's actually in the same boat as the 83 of Jack Wells. Both these cars trapped 2 down as things run. But yeah, so I think right now for most of the field here, like I said, if you're one of these top 4 in the group, you want this to go green to the end. Pretty much everybody else is kind of hoping for a yellow. We'll jump over to Todd Merkel, and looks like he has found some help. So he is caught up behind, I believe that is the 4 car. So try and catch the name of that driver. I believe that is Paul Fletcher. It is. So at least those two should be able to lock on together. And actually, they don't have too much far to go before they get some help as well. You've got Dean Wilkinson there as well as Brian Pierce. They should be able to lock on together as well. I don't think James Ledford is going to get up to speed quite in time. And we mentioned the 071 though of Eric Laurie, Michael Spell. They will definitely be able to lock onto that number 48 car though. Maybe they can start closing that gap to those cars in front. As I say that, the 10 and the 51, they both hit the pits for which appears to be their final pit stops as well. Actually, no, this is unscheduled. I'm sorry. I said now that I'm looking at the 51 car, this is unscheduled for Travis Turnmeyer. I am wondering, let's go back and see. Did Travis Turnmeyer, did he lose a motor here? So we're back a previous lap here. We're going to keep an eye. We'll watch Travis as he goes through here. So I'm wondering if maybe he was just doing too much drafting, got the car too hot, and maybe that blew the motor. We'll kind of keep an eye on it. That's huge, though, for Travis. He's having a great run this evening. He's just working with the 87 car, running in that second position here. So we'll keep it. You can see how tight he is running on that 87 car, so we'll watch and see if we see. Oh, yep, there's the puff of smoke. So that's exactly what happened to Travis. He loses a motor there. Quick reaction that you can see, gets off the track as fast as he possibly can and is able to get it slowed down. So that's unfortunate. I hate that for Travis. Had an awesome run going there. Made all the right decisions, perfect moves all throughout the race there. Just unfortunately, just didn't quite get that motor cooled off enough. Again, may have been a little bit too hot. Most likely, usually it's on the oil temperature side versus the water, but whatever way it was, though, unfortunately, that's going to ruin his awesome night that he was having. Definitely was obviously one of the 4 contenders here at the end, pending, of course, how the rest of this race goes. So he's going to be one of the contenders for the win this evening. So that leaves us the top 3 in points, running 1, 2, 3, however, in reverse position. Entering tonight, that 3rd place driver, Gabe Butler, he was our points leader entering the event. Kevin Freeze was 2nd coming into it, and then again, a bit of a longer shot to make it back to the lead to challenge for the title with the races remaining is that 87 of Raymond Rittenauer. So again, we'll see if they stay in kind of in lockstep like they are now, or do they maybe try to make some moves at the end. They do have some help behind them should they choose to. They got Jack Walls, Jim Brooks. They've also got Benjamin Combs there, and of course they have their teammate, that number 8 car of Dude Conrad, not the night he was looking for. So he saw him have some contact with the wall a little earlier. So we'll see if maybe that's going to come into play, where maybe some jockeying for some help from some of these drivers around him, trying to get the, hey, if I move, will you come with me, kind of a thing. But again, as I kind of joke about that, but as we've talked about before, the teamwork of this group is pretty much just unmatched right now as things run. So I would not be surprised to almost see the equivalent of a formation finish, if you will, between these 3 at the end. So we'll have to wait and see. Say right now we have 8 to go still, so a lot of time for a lot of things to happen. And I'm sure if you're that 25 or the 1, you're feeling a little bit more nervous, though. You saw your teammate blow the motor running, drafting maybe a little bit too hard. So if you're those 2 drivers, you're probably watching your gauges a lot more intensely and making sure you give yourself a little bit of the breathing room to that car in front of you. drop on back to the second group here with the number 55 of Dean Wilkinson. You can see this group has definitely picked up in size here. So right now you've got Eric Laurie. He's now back into the mix here. You've got Dean Wilkinson as well. Paul Witt is a little further back there in that group. But right now the two cars for position are the 55 and the 071. So you can see the 55 on the inside, 071 to the outside. They're working with James Ledford. Those are two are battling for the 4th and 5th positions respectively. Then we got to drop back to Paul Witt. Saying right now he's pretty much off on his own position-wise. However, does have help from that 00 of Thomas Holder. And then just behind him is that 26 of Paul Patterson. Then the next group is going to be that 9 of Charles Johnson, still working with Robbie Richards. So those two have been pretty much locked together here for the second half of this race. And as I said, talking about the teammates maybe helping him at the end, that's not going to happen because Dude Conran, he's got to hit the pits here with 6 to go. 5 to go next time around for that number 8 machine. So again, he was a bit off sequence, unfortunately, with that earlier incident that he had the contact involved with. So say teammates aren't going to get involved in this one, at least those that aren't involved in the lead here. So I'll say pretty much right here you've got the top three in the points, top 3 in the race. And then you've got those 3 behind them a lap or more down. So again, we'll see if anything changes. But I would suspect you won't see too much trouble from Jack or Jim or Benjamin there at the end of this run. I think they're just going to let it sort it out amongst themselves basically and see how this one's going to shake out. So as you see here, so you saw the Dude Conran, he gets lapped there, and you also see the number 4 car, Paul Fletcher. They get around him as well. So again, they've really put some cars of laps down here in this one. So right now we've only got 8 cars left on the lead lap. We have from 9th to 15th it appears to be, I believe, 1 down. Or sorry, to 16th is 1 down. And then from 17th on back is 2 or more. So say again, the teamwork of this group here together, say honestly should be at least the 4 drivers here, if not the 5. Let's say, so obviously, like I mentioned, Raymond Rittenauer, Kevin Fries, Gabe Butler, they're all up front. However, Eric Laurie was with them most of the race, just had troubles on the pit stop, and that's what set him back. And as we mentioned with Travis Turnmeyer, unfortunately, he having his motor expire while trying to push that 87 car while he was running in the 2nd position. So say not the finishes that those drivers would like, but say they can definitely still feel strong about the run that they had tonight. Or just again, so far, completely dominating performance for this team up front. So as we cross the line here, 3 more to go here at iRacing Superspeedway. So right now, again, battle for 4th and 5th. You can see him on the inside-outside lines. You see Michael Speller on the outside getting a big push from that 071 of Eric Laurie. So again, Eric trying to see if he can get around the 55. As I said, that was contact. That's actually going to bring out the yellow, the first of the evening. So that's going to change everything. I say it looked like we were pretty much good to go to the end, but we're going to have a big wrench thrown into the finish here tonight. As you can see, we'll go back and take a look, but it was contact between Eric Laurie and then go back here and take a look and find it. All right, just came across the guy to get a better angle too. So basically what we saw though was the 88 Michael Spell was able to get around the 55 of Dean Wilkinson, but what I think we saw happen though was the 071 tried to follow him through and just was not clear. As you can see here, he tries to follow 88 right around through. However, just was not room to say nothing that Dean did wrong there. Say just I think Eric thought he was clear. Unfortunately, was not. But you can see a lot of cars getting caught up in this as well. You see the 10 also getting some damage, 57 as well. And I think the 81 just gets slowed up in time here. So this is going to throw a big wrench into everything here and put us under our first caution, and going to be the first attempt of a green-white checkered. And I'm a little nervous about Raymond Rittenauer here. Yeah, he's going to need to wait for that pace car. He cannot beat the pace car to the pits on entry. So that's going to be, and then you have the next concern. You can't, the 25 does not want to beat him into the pits. So this is really shaking things up here, as we've got a bit of a mixed strategy here. That number 1 car, Gabe Butler, he feels like he can make it to the end. So we're going to see a few stay out, a few pit. So the one is staying out. You see the 88 of Michael Spell. He's going to get his lap back. It's a huge break for the 88 machine. What some drivers are definitely hoping for are not going to get, though, if you were that 1 car or the 55, if you were lapped down, you're hoping that one of these 2 drivers were going to pit as well, because then you could take a wave round and get one of your laps back. However, with that not happening, that's going to keep a lot of cars here trapped a lap down. So this is going to definitely change a lot of things in this race here, which namely is going to be, does he have enough fuel to make it to the end? How is the 55? He's got a little bit of damage to that car. Is that going to play a role into anything? It's not going to really hurt too bad for the 87 and the 25 cars, as they're going to be able to come out of here in the pits, and they're going to still wind up in the second row, I believe. Although, as I say that, though, Kevin Freeze, say a bit of a longer pit stop for Kevin, so he's actually going to restart a little further back here, not in the second row. So it's going to shake up our running order a little bit as well here. So this is going to get interesting. Alright, so we're back on the 1 to go here. So what I'm waiting to see is, I believe some of those cars that pitted should still be able to move their way forward, so we'll keep an eye. As you can see, Gabe here, he's trying to shortcut this track as much as possible, save as much fuel as he can in that number 1 car, because he's definitely feeling like he's going to be pretty close on fuel. He's already actually on lap number 21, so this is usually pretty much about the time when you would make that pit stop. As you can see, here comes some of those drivers that pitted to try to cycle their way back up through the field to restart in their correct position. But this is going to get probably a little bit wild here at the end. So front row is going to be Gabe Butler, Dean Wilkinson. And I believe second row will be Raymond Rittenauer and Paul Witt. Row 3 is going to be Charles Johnson and Robbie Richards. Row 4, Kevin Freeze and Eric Laurie. And then Michael Spell will be the last car in the lead lap. He has to restart behind the field here in that number 88 car, but that may not necessarily be a bad thing, because so the cars that stayed out, I actually worry a lot about the tire spin on this restart. I mentioned on the initial start, and that's the only one we've had, so everybody's had these starts with brand new fresh tires. This restart, these drivers are going to definitely have some sketchier tires on their cars. Going to be worn, going to be hot, and may not react as well as they want to here. So once the pace car drops, it's going to be up to the number 1 of Gabe Butler when he wants to go. One thing he does have going for him is he has his teammate behind him, so we'll see if they can work some drafting together to make something happen. As they working out down the line, they do get the power down. You can see the wiggling going on in those cars. But so far able to hold a steady line here as we get back underway. Again, they need to make it to the white flag, otherwise we may get a second attempt of a green-white checkered finish. So we'll see how things shake out to the end here. So right now, inside row here, going to take advantage here again with that shorter distance around the field here. So you can see one of Gabe Butler, he's going to hold the bottom here. He's got Raymond Rittenauer behind him, Charles Johnson there now in third. Here comes Kevin Freeze. He's going to, nope, I thought he was going to come to the top. He stays low here with his team. But here comes the number 83, Jack Wall. Jack Wall, the lap down. Next car in line for position is that number 12 of Robbie Richards. Robbie kind of peeking to the top there to see where he can go with this one. As we're going to come across. Oh, you see a couple cars looks like have to hit the pits here. Jim Brooks is one of them. All right, looks like we do get across line. We will get the white flag. All right, so 1 lap left in this race. Can Gabe Butler make it to the end? Does he have enough fuel to make it to the end? And what do these cars behind him do? What does the 87 do? Here comes the 9, Charles Johnson. Charles is going to jump to the top and see if he gets any help. Right now, the inside line stays locked up together here. Now you see the 9 is going to get some help, though, from the 83 of Jack Walls. Also the 12 of Robbie Richards. So now it's all about the drag race to the line here. You see the 1. He's going to move up a little bit here coming out of 4 as they make the race to the line. Gabe Butler gonna get the win, has enough fuel to make it to the end. Raymond Rittenauer gonna grab that 2nd spot. Charles Johnson gonna finish in 3rd there in that number 9 machine. Kevin Freese 4th, and Robbie Richards will finish in the 5th position. So it looked like it was gonna be all Raymond there at towards the end of that race, but then that late race caution just shook everything up there, and some pit strategy by that number 1 car gets him to the front and somehow able to keep enough fuel in that car to make it to the end here. as Gabe's teammate decides to go barrel first into the tire barrels there. However, getting the win tonight is going to be that number 1 machine of Gabe Butler. It looks like he'll also even have enough burnout or enough fuel here to do some burnouts in that car. I was a little skeptical that he'd have enough to do that, but Gabe going to get the win here this evening at iRacing Superspeedway. Pretty wild finish there at the end. Alright, so while we do that, I'll say let's go ahead and grab some of our drivers here. We'll get our top 3, have a word with them. We're going to start off with the number 9 of Charles Johnson. Super fast forward, I'm not sure why. There we go. I'll keep an eye out for him. I actually lost our 3rd place finisher. I'll see if he comes back in here. But I'll say for now, though, we'll give at least some info. So that number 9 machine of Charles Johnson finishing 3rd. Started in the 2nd position. Saying basically just, yeah, I mean, that was a really good recovery from that caution. Obviously working out great for him in that number 9 car. So I'm going to bring Charles home in 3rd. Yeah, say unfortunately, though, I am not seeing... I saw him for a moment, then he's jumped out. Not sure, maybe it's Works had to take back over for him. I say he's been very, very busy with work, so it's great to see him on track. And when he is on track, definitely one to contend with here at these races. So I'll say, unfortunately, we may not get an interview with our 3rd place finisher. However, we will grab one now with our 2nd place, that number 87 of Raymond Rittenauer. Let's go ahead and bring Raymond in here, have a chat with him. So we'll pull Raymond over here. I'll say it looked like it was going to be kind of a really good points night for you. Say the way everything was going, you and your team, great strategy again there. Doing everything right with the pit stops. I'll say made that first pit stop a little early to kind of get you guys that track position, clean air, if you will, away from the rest of the field, and then kind of let you guys do what you do best. And then kind of as the race went on, lost Eric as a drafting partner, and then unfortunately Travis having his motor blow at the end after that last pit stop as well there. And it looked like you were kind of going to be the one to kind of lead the way there. I wasn't sure if the plan was kind of a formation finish, if you will, between yourself and Gabe and Kevin there, or if they're going to maybe start dicing out once you got that white flag or not. But I say then that kind of all got washed away, and So you had a pretty big fight on your hands there that last restart.
Yeah, when the caution came out there, that made things very interesting. Gabe barely had enough fuel there, and I know I didn't have enough, so I had to go in. But luckily, I somehow came out right behind Gabe. That worked out perfect.
Yeah, so now it's a great point that you make. Is the fact that you guys were able to restart together there. So we know how well you worked together on that one. One thing I had mentioned to say that I'm not sure if maybe it's something that you were thought about. Well, actually, I should ask you first. On that last pit stop, did you take fuel only, or did you take some tires as well?
I took fuel only because I wanted to just get in and get out as soon as I could to see if I could gain a few spots. I didn't think I would be up second row, but it worked out, I guess.
Okay, that's actually perfect. Then, so I wanted to ask you about the restart with. I'll say this track. To me, it's kind of like a crazy Dover with the banking even on the straightaways. Getting the power down on the restarts, was that okay for you, or was it a little bit sketchier on those old tires? I honestly was surprised that everybody was able to get through that restart clean at the end.
Honestly, didn't feel a lot of a wheel spin there at the end. We got a little bit of a run there. Green flag kind of surprised us, but yeah, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, so obviously still trying to see if you can creep back in the points on Gabe. Let's say obviously getting the pole, leading the most laps, that definitely helps your cause. Like I said, you were in prime position there prior to that caution with I think it was like 2 or 3 to go. So let's say obviously not what you're looking for there, but still I mean a really good run here. So definitely want to give you the floor though. Any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that second place tonight?
Yeah, like I think Lucky Dogs, my sponsor there. Everybody at Area 51 for all they do. Everybody on my team, they do a heck of a job. Um, and you guys for putting on a great broadcast.
All right, well, great job again, Raymond. Like I said, it just didn't quite pan out for you perfectly tonight, but say you did everything you could to put yourself in position. Just that one caution, I say only the one caution tonight as well. Just didn't fall. Obviously, would have been ideal for any of you guys, but yeah, great job again tonight, man. And say won't be surprised to see you up there not too far future.
All right, thank you.
All right, so now we got to jump over to our race winner, that number one of Gabe Butler. Again, I say sounds like he was definitely tight on fuel. I honestly a little surprised on my side. I know he's good at saving fuel, but I was wondering about the how close it was going to be at the end. And let's say before we cut over to start doing some interviews, let's say it looked like you're lined up to do some burnouts, but I'm not sure. You may have run out of fuel in that number one machine there. So take us through that restart.
Yeah, I am out of fuel. I ran out shortly after the start finish line there. Yeah, the restart was a little squirrely, but luckily Ray was behind me and I got a really nice push. But we saw that outside line starting to make a move, and as we were coming to the last turn, Ray asked me to move up just a little bit so he could eyeball it a little bit better, and I did, and we nailed that last turn, and I believe that's how we got him.
Yeah, say I mean again, you two just work so well together week in and week out. Obviously, I mean Kevin as well. Obviously, definitely in that mix as well here. I mean the whole team was, as I was mentioning to Raymond, was I mean for the most part of it, you had two of you had Kevin in there as well. Eric for the most part until that last pit, unfortunately didn't go quite to plan for him. And then also Travis Turnmeyer, while he was pushing Raymond there up front, losing the motor, just got that car too hot a little bit, unfortunately, to pop his motor there. But I mean, you were on a obviously you had your strategy there, pit a couple of laps earlier than you had to on fuel, and I mean that kind of set the tone for the race with you guys able to nail your pit stops, get a good exit, stay locked on together, and just from there just do what you guys do best, and kind of had that teamwork with each other.
Yeah, that was the idea. We were anticipating, a green run, no cautions. So we said, yeah, Travis called it. And he said, we'll go early. And we figured by the time those guys pitted, we'd be able to break their draft. And I think at one point on the first run, we ended up 7 seconds ahead of the uh, car that was behind the four of us, I guess. Would have been P5 or 6, whatever. So yeah, it worked out really well, and a real good call by Travis.
Yeah, it was obviously a really good strategy. If you guys had gone green to the end, I mean, was it going to be tight on fuel for any of you? I mean, obviously with Raymond leading that whole thing, pretty much was he feeling like he was going to be tight on it, or was it pretty much like right on the money to make it to the end?
He would have been right on the money to make it to the end, but he would have made it.
Yeah, so you guys obviously doing your calculations very well as well here tonight, Gabe. So obviously took over the points lead last race, able to get the win here tonight, so it's going to help that out a little bit as well. So I'm not sure. I think I saw the 25. He got some contact to the back of his car. I'm not sure if it was during one of the pit entries, so that may have affected some bonus points for a incident-free race. So I'm not sure about on your end. Were you able to get through tonight unscathed?
Yeah, luckily, yeah, no incidents.
And so actually, that was I'll say before I give you some shout out chance. That's actually one thing I didn't mention or ask Raymond about too is the pit entry here. Obviously, Daytona Talladega, we're pretty familiar with those ones, but this pit entry is not like pretty much any other that we do. I mean, can you explain just how difficult it is to go from pretty much 240 down to 60 there, and that pretty much I don't know what that is gap between the exit of four and the pit entry there, but I mean, just how wild is that for you guys?
It's probably one of the more difficult pit entries on the sim, I believe, because apart from getting the car down from ridiculously high speeds to 65 miles an hour, the transition from the track to the pit entry is insane. I mean, the car just smashes into that pit entry after you come down off the track, and it'll get away from you if you're not careful. Uh, Luckily enough, the first pit run, like we were really aggressive on it. The first pit's up, but the second two, we kind of were a little bit more conservative. But even still, it'd jolt your wheel like you wouldn't believe. So, like I said, it's probably one of the more difficult pit entries on the sim.
Yeah, it definitely showed us, and I was curious to see if something I mentioned at the beginning was if drivers are going to maybe try to pit in smaller groups instead of having like a big cluster going in, because I was dreading the idea of having everybody pit around like lap 19, 20, whatever it may have been, because I had a bad feeling there'd be multiple drivers not getting out of that. So definitely your strategy, you guys nailed it. Kind of almost working backwards, if you will, like a road course race on the fuel mileage there. So great job, like you said, by Travis, working the numbers there. But yeah, so say with that though, I definitely want to give you the floor here. Any thanks shouts you'd like to give for that win tonight?
Well, obviously, they're Ray at the end for a fantastic push, and the rest of the team, as you well know, we work really well together, and we really did have good pit stops tonight, all things considered. Unfortunate incident there in the last one with Kevin, I believe, and Eric, but Kevin was able to come back P4. So good night overall, good points night, and shout out to Area 51 for putting this on, and of course yourself for the broadcast.
All right, great job tonight, Gabe. Say enjoy the win and saying, well, I'm sure we'll be definitely be watching you next week, and say a good chance, of course, to be able to interview you as well after tonight or after next week's race.
All right, Gail, thanks, man.
All right, that is our race winner, number one of Gabe Butler, getting the win tonight, just enough to make it across field for the end. He definitely ran the numbers, and it was tight, but he was able to make it happen there. So final results for the race here. Gabe Butler getting the win over Raymond Rittenauer. Charles Johnson brings it home in third. Kevin Freeze fourth. Robbie Richards rounds out our top five. Then you got Paul Witt, Michael Spell, Dean Wilkinson, and Eric Laurie in the top 9. James Ledford in 10th. First car 1 lap down. Then we have 11th through 20th. Thomas Holder, Todd Merkel, Brian Pierce, Paul Patterson, Corey Lane. Unfortunately, all those drivers got trapped at least 1 lap down. And then see a couple cars 2 down, including Jack Walls, Benjamin Combs, Dude Conrad, and Eugene Vernon. In 20th, Jim Brooks. We saw him have to pit there on that initial start, or I should say the final restart there in the 20th position. Then 21st through 23 got Paul Fletcher. Travis Turnmeyer, we saw him blow his motor as he was in the second position, pushing the leader, Raymond Rittenauer. Just unfortunate, got that car too hot at the end, so definitely not what he was looking for. And then final position in 23rd for the number 11 of Quabi Brooks. All right, so with that, everybody, that's our first week back of 2021. So I hope everybody's able to kind of get things situated back again, so get back to the routine of work and all that. So I'm sure it's been tough for a lot of us to get back into that routine. But again, for those that have been watching, really appreciate you guys supporting Green White Checkered TV. Of course, Area 51 League as well. They put on a really good show. I'm glad to be able to be a part of it here, to be able to put on some of the races that they do. We'll be back again on Tuesday for the Indy Series. And then, of course, Thursday will be the Cup Series, and back again on Sunday for the Superspeedway Cup Series yet again. So until Tuesday, hope you all have a wonderful evening. Hope your weekends were enjoyable, and look forward to catching you all on Tuesday as well. So again, if you can, as always, please, if you can, try to stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, and have a good night.